It's a glitch, bro. It's gotta be a glitch. If we all feel that way,
He won't even. Honestly, I was like, don't send it. He didn't even respond to me. He didn't say anything. I think he froze.
oh no.
We lost.
No,
Joe.
you
I was like, oh, that was good. That was
You
good.
fucking got me, man.
Okay, so influence, just in general. I feel like most people nowadays just think of like social media influencers as like the main like form of influence now, because even like movies.
Well, first of all, why don't we back up for a second, since we haven't done this in a minute? Why don't you give them a fucking Frankopedia about what an influence is? Because influence can be many different things. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Let's bring it back for a minute. Because you're right, you can influence. You can be influenced, and people can be influencers. Nowadays, everybody thinks influencers are just on social media, but there was tons before that.
True. And I like
with
that.
that
So shout out for the Frankopedia. I like that. So influence is the capacity to have an effect on the character development or behavior of someone or something, or the effect itself. So exactly, like it could be something as little as a kid looking up to their uncle, from somebody that looks up to someone famous, to
a teacher.
Yeah, a teacher, to the media, things you watch constantly, you know what I mean? Or like not even meaning like news media, like just any form of media, like, you know, YouTube, TV, internet, anything at all like that. It's all influenced in a sense. Like if you start watching things that have an opinion on something that you didn't necessarily think about before, or you were like undecided on, well, that can sway your decision because you've only heard those certain things of one side. Yeah, exactly. So same thing in the sense of like being in a relationship. Your wife always complains or something like, oh, how come your family never comes over, but my family's always here? And every time it's always the same complaint. After a while, you might turn to your family and be like, yo, how come my wife's family's always here, but you guys are never here? You know what I mean? Meanwhile, you could have really never gave a shit beforehand. Like that's a form of influence, you know? And I don't think
sway your mind or decision making, I would think. Or not even sway, just
no, to have an effect. To have an effect on your thinking, decision, anything of your thought process, anything to have an effect on you that wasn't something that you thought on your own because you just constantly heard it over however prolonged periods of time. That's influence.
Darren, you're an influence to me.
Well, Darren is an influence to a lot of people. That's why, like I said, that's what I was telling him earlier. Darren works with kids. Like that's a big influence, dude. When you're in a school, you have a big influence on kids. How you react in certain situations, the way kids are acting, behaving, not behaving, whatever, you know, it's an influence on them. It's a big impact. So that's a very responsible job, you know, in a sense.
Huge responsibility.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you feel about that, Dave?
Teacher responsibility and the influence of a teacher.
Yeah,
it's huge.
Keep in mind, nobody knows where you work, so you don't have to name that.
But well,
know you are a teacher.
But in general, look, I've taught in different capacities. I was a substitute teacher. It's not really teaching. It's more in high school. It's more babysitting, so you don't really have to do much, but just make sure the kids
watching a movie today.
Right. Well, that's too much work. Do less, right? So, really just sit there. If the teacher leaves a lesson plan or work, it's usually just like that. It's very informal. There's an influence there, but you don't have maybe as much. You become a real teacher full time, you're going to have influence every day, probably more than you're made aware of that maybe more than you anticipate. But look, I'd like to think that my personality reaches people beyond just like what I'm teaching. So I'm hoping that aspects of me positively influence my students. You may not get a lot of feedback to prove that, or kind of show you the metric or the results of that influence, because half the time kids are just obsessed with their phones and disconnected, and I'm not special. They'll do that in every class if they're doing it in yours. But I do get feedback from the kids that, hey, well, we love you, class. You know what I mean? And it's like that makes me feel good. They're like, we don't really talk in maybe other classes as much. I'm like, all right, hopefully I'm influencing or doing something right. And
Yeah.
it's about the little wins, because at the end of the day, there's so many kids, and
Well, dude,
there's
reaching kids matters because
it's not
especially
easy.
in high school, like kids are at the point in high school where they're starting to feel emotions of the real world. In a sense, they know that things of the real world are coming up. They're starting to
They're
feel
aware of what's
stress.
about to happen.
Yeah, they're starting to feel stress, and a lot of them don't have an outlet. A lot of them don't have someone to talk. Like, parents are busy working double jobs or whatever nowadays, or maybe not even necessarily paying attention or realizing that something's wrong, not because they harm, not meaning to, but that shit happens. Like, a lot of kids feel like they don't have someone to talk to. So, like, even me personally, dude, there's so many people through 13 to 18 that was not a family member that I confided in with so many things that I was going through my childhood, that had a big influence on me, a positive influence, that I was grateful that I met those type of people rather than someone that could have a fucking negative influence on me.
True.
You know?
So what you were saying about high schoolers, they kind of still, I mean, more than either one of us, Dan, but it's like these kids still think they're top of the world. They think they're invincible, and they think like nothing is going to harm them and the world will revolve around them. And I'm giving my view of this based on the gym, because that's when I see these kids. They come to the gym and they act like who they are. They own this bench and no one's going to fuck with them. They're 17, 18, 19 years old. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to say double your age, but it's like,
Can
it's
your age.
at the same time, it's like I'm not going to sit here and start a problem with these kids. I don't want to beat up 12 year olds and shit. But what I'm trying to get at is these people just think that the world is revolving around them and who the fuck they are. But that also depends on their masculinity at home. Like you said, if parents aren't around, I'm going specifically talking about boys here.
Well,
like,
no, I was going to say,
like
it's not
teenage
even just
guys.
necessarily at home. It's because of the world we live in nowadays. The way of everything being on TikTok, Instagram, this and that, blah, 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 seeing how everybody is in their perfect fake social media life and stuff, that has an influence on a lot of these younger kids. So like a lot of them try to like look like they are better than they are, in the sense of, like you said, like maybe when they're at the gym, they're like, Mr. Tough Guy, you know what I mean? Because they're in a fucking gym and they're young and they're trying to like fucking, you know what I mean? But it's because they've had the wrong influence. And this is why I wanted to bring up this subject like today, because
What were you going to say?
No, listen, it's all of that, but it's so much of that is a huge outlet for a lot of them when they choose not to talk to somebody, because it's easier, because it's there. But where it's there,
well, you're not talking to someone direct, so it's easier to open up. Yeah,
right. You'll post something on Reddit because that's a micro forum for you, maybe on a certain page, on True Off My Chest subreddit. You know what I mean? Like, that's one. For adults, kids, it's both. You know what I mean? And I noticed that. And look, it's the whole generation. It comes back to the generational thing. This is in their face 24/7, for better or worse. Doesn't mean they can't learn from it. It's not like they're all, necessarily feeding their minds. It's more just feeding consumption of content that usually is useless and funny or whatever, or just it's overload, it's overstimulation. And with that comes, girls and guys might look at people at the gym. Oh, look at this body. Look at this body. The ones who only do butt workouts and make like something appealing there, or guys who are real, gym heads who really care about their diet too. It makes a hard, it sets a hard precedent.
That's and bar really high.
We measure ourselves against these older role models as well, whether positive or negative, but like whoever we would see in magazines and on TV and on the internet. Now it's 24/7 around the clock consumption and in your face. This is what I'm looking at now. Oh no, I don't look up to snuff, or I don't feel good. As far as a rise in anxiety, depression among these kids, I don't think these kids are necessarily like breaking science with mental illnesses and stuff. I think there's too much crap that is messing up their brains because of the overstimulation. And we grew up now, we've been exposed to it too.
Yeah.
Me and Danny
kids,
talked about this in other episodes. We've talked about this in other episodes, how that's exactly.
I know that kind of teeters, but it breeds that other.
But that's exactly. So two things I want to say, actually. One, that he always mentions about like how the information at your fingertips on the, like all these kids with the chances that they have, like, dude, right now, you don't have to go to college. You don't. If you wanted to study to become something or whatever, you could literally learn all the information you needed right at your fingertips. The laptops, the computers we're using right now, have all the information you need, but nobody else goes to use that in that way. Everything is in the way how we're talking about, like the social, the fun way, like this and that. But really, if you think about it, I need to fix this thing on my car. Fuck, I don't have the money to go take it to the mechanic. You could really buy the parts yourself and watch the video and learn how to do it yourself. You could.
That's how I did. Actually, I did that with changing a light. I had
Me too. Headlight. Yeah, I did the same thing, dude. Like,
and I had to take off my door panel because I'm a fucking retard. Remember when I left my debit card and it slipped right into the right into the window thing? It slipped right in.
I'm like,
my
no.
but dude, I'm saying there's so many things that you could look up just to learn, but people don't do that. They use it for like the other sense.
Why should you when you have outlets for anything easy? Just like in life, there's a famous quote: "It's easier to destroy than it is to build." That means you could be shitting on somebody's opinion or just not applying yourself. It's easier to tell yourself something will never happen and not have confidence. That applies in many ways. It's the same concept, I feel. Why should I enrich my mind besides the kids who are actually curious and actually do that? Because plenty of them who do, but more of them do not. Just like more people do not, because people love dumb shit. And why not? Why should I not scroll through my Instagram feed just looking at videos about tigers and kittens and making food and stuff, even if that is educational, because it can be. Because I look at that stuff and think, okay, that I'm actually learning how to make this cool recipe because I love cooking. But most of it's just useless. It's just for kids, you know what I mean? Just
which
stimulation. So why should I bother learning anything, even though I can? Because it's taken for granted. I could do it anytime. Why do it now?
Well, but exactly like you said, it's and this is why I'm going to say it's exactly what, and I'm going to use the they. But this is why it's what they want, because like you said, it rises in depression, makes people go to the doctor, need more antidepressants, things like that, rise in numbers there.
Influence
all the things of how it is they're influencing us in those ways on purpose.
I want to piggyback on what he was saying, because when you're home from whether it's school or a long day at work or whatever the fuck, and you're just chilling, you're vegging out on your computer, on your couch or your bed, whatever, you're just scrolling mindlessly, because at that point you're like, oh, I've already worked 8 hours. I've already worked 14 hours. I've already, studied for this long. I was at school for this long. Now I'm home. I'm going to do what I want.
You mean something mindless, right?
Yeah. Looking at fucking dumb shit, looking at,
we're all guilty of it. I do it
on Instagram, or looking at the fucking, how to do this, what is it? Twitch, when people stream video games and stuff. Because instead of actually learning how to do something interesting, people are just mindlessly scrolling, and that's we're all guilty about it. But there comes a point when it's like, you got to sit there and be like, it takes about actually Joe Coppola mentioned this to me. He said it takes 10,000 hours to be perfect at something, regardless of whatever it is. If you do anything for 10,000 hours, you can consider yourself an expert. He actually just got me a book, and I appreciate that. So shout out to Joe.
That is actually a dope fact.
It's like, if you just put your mind to it, let's say one of these goals for the new year for me, this is since 2016 actually, is to learn piano. And I feel like this year I'm just a little bit more, okay, that's what I'm going to do now. So every day, they say, oh, an hour a day. Sometimes you don't have an hour a day.
Have you done?
You can't say
I have a thing, but
you of all people can't say sometimes you don't have an hour a day, because you literally schedule 2 hours every day for the gym. Most people don't
that's
do
fitness.
that.
That's part of my routine. I'm not
this is something you want
for something else.
If this is something you want for knowledge, it's not about substituting. It's about making time. It's about time management. It's literally about time management. You make a schedule, you make a list for everything. You do it for this. Okay, so if I do this, this, and this, and this at these times, well, I could do this. I could do this piano. Or a perfect example. When you were doing the clan,
I'm
not attacking you. I'm being positive to help you. I'm not attacking you. I'm not attacking you. I'm challenging you and being positive to help you. Because again, when you were doing the clean November thing, you were waking up way earlier every day, right? You had more hours in the day. If you woke up an hour or two earlier every day, you'd have an hour to fucking do the piano. Now, I'm not saying literally every day, because there's some nights where you work late and shit like that, but it's all about the time management. It's about how important you make it.
Remember me asking him if he could help me out with this, because I specifically said, I fucking got it, dog.
Fucking got what?
I don't know. Never mind. I had some other shit.
That was from something.
It was, but nobody got it. So
Bad Boys?
No, it just it passed. I fucked up your shit. My bad.
No, it's cool. I'm just saying, like, I was just trying to help you. But I forgot what my other point was going to be anyway.
Frank, your skin's going to grow back too. Sorry.
I'm trying to give you a positive influence like you gave me, man.
No, I'm not.
You made me a positive person, I have to say.
To get back to
he has. Bro, you have to see. If you go back to the beginning of our show and some of the stuff when he, like, talks all, like, and me and Joe would make fun of him and stuff, I have to say, like,
Oh,
there's like
what?
we were in the car going to the gym the other day, and I forgot what I said, and he like was like, I was like, "Fuck you, let's go," because it's something like he used to say all the time. But it's just like I used to be like the type of person that would do like asshole things and be like, whatever, fuck it, like I don't give a fuck, blah, 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 whatever.
Careless things.
And he would be like, dude, like if you just were just better in that sense, it would make you feel better. And I just was always like, okay, whatever, blah, 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 whatever. And like things have happened over the last like year or two, whatever. And I don't know, I've just become a better person, I guess. And
Boy changes frequency.
so I've done
allow
some
that.
things recently, like so Darren, the other day, there was this dog that ran into Karen's store. It was like a little Shih Tzu Yorkie, didn't have a collar, wasn't chipped. They took it to the vet, and it wasn't chipped. So they brought it back to the store. Nobody was claiming
What
the
does
dog.
chip mean? Neutered?
No, like microchipped. Like to see like if you know if you lose your dog, you could find them.
That's
you
serious
know,
thing?
you
Microchipping
didn't know you could do
dogs.
that?
I don't have a dog. I don't know these things. No.
All right. But anyway, so he didn't have a
You
collar.
serious?
Nobody was there to
you
claim
fuck
him.
with me? Are you serious?
No, you could really do that. It's like a regular normal thing.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not like when you go to the pick them up at like the shelter, they'll ask you like, do you want to get them chipped? And it's like an
I'm gonna
extra
have to
like
get
whatever. But it's like a little thing they just put in them, and so like if you ever lose them, you can find them. But anyway, so they couldn't find out what to do with this dog, and he was well groomed, like he was obviously taken care of. So I went and fucking picked him up and brought him back to my house. I posted a TikTok, posted on Facebook, and like, hey, anybody know where this is? 20 minutes later, we found the owner. Fucking brought him back to them, literally like 2 days before Christmas Eve. The lady was so happy. She was like, "Oh my god, thank you. I have a 2-year-old. She loves her," and like blah blah blah. And like she would have been devastated. Like, no problem. It's okay. Merry Christmas. Like I was so it made me feel so good just to do something like that. Like I don't know. I would never be that type. Like a couple years ago, I probably would have been like, "Yo, fuck that. This dog got lost. He's our dog now." Like I probably would have. So
Well, that's the influence you have on your kids. Do you steal or do you just give back type of thing?
see,
You know, like how do they take it? Because you come home with the puppy, they're gonna get excited.
yes. Well, okay, when you say it like that, yes. See, like, because it's funny, like when you say, "Do you steal?"
Everybody steals.
Sometimes I was gonna say I have no problem
Jules, you
taking
dream.
something from a
Everybody
corporation. Something that is not gonna miss something, I have no problem. But no, I get what you're saying in that sense. Yes,
You
absolutely.
know, that's why
Morally,
you gotta,
yeah.
you gotta right. Morally, you gotta tell them, look, if you find finders keepers for the most part, but the losers weep. That sucks. And most of the time you weep instead of winning. Because you
Well,
lose
'cause-
a lot of shit. Everybody loses shit.
Think about it in the aspect of like if I was someone that was like, "Oh fuck that, we're keeping this dog now," and I didn't know that there was a 2-year-old little girl that was out there missing her fucking dog. You know what I mean? But now instead, being the type of person that's like, "Yo, we have to try and find the owners for this dog," and then dropping the dog off and hearing that fact makes you feel so much better than, "Nah, this is my dog. Like I'm happy with this dog." No, that's not as good of a feeling as the other way around. I'm sorry. It was great. But so yeah, you're a positive influence on me, man.
Me?
Yeah, you.
Oh, thanks, man.
I love you, dude.
So
I love you, bro. Some Goebbels. What's up?
Fucking love you, dog.
no, I was actually gonna ask you because I could relate to you on this topic, but you're an uncle to two, right? You have a niece and a nephew.
Correctamundo.
So I have nieces, his kids, and when you see them as often or unoften as you do, they are always excited to see you, right? They gravitate towards
Yes.
you. Uncle Darren, they look up to you.
Uncle D.
That's what's up. So in sense, it's like, even though we don't have kids, when I'm with them, even though I don't yell at them, I try to explain to them or reiterate what Frank tells them. So it's like, what I'm asking, I guess, basically, is you ever find yourself in a situation where your brother will scold your niece and nephew, and then you have to kind of be like, all right, well, listen, the reason why daddy yelled was blah, blah, blah.
No, but I mean, I've been there to reinforce things, of course, and it works that way being a teacher also. You got to be a team. You know what I mean? And when it's like adults versus kids, I'm not going to undermine something my brother wanted, like condition wise, or like if he needed to reprimand one of them or whatever he needed to do. None of them have come and complained to me specifically. I've seen him disciplined before right in front of me, but I would probably be reinforcing what, the purpose is if they didn't understand or if they seemed sad. It's not because they came to me to try to appeal like I'm the mom versus the dad.
Right,
Like dad
right,
does
right.
one thing, I'm mom. Like I'm a swayable adults, but because they're still young. But the reality is they can do that. I haven't experienced much of that, but I've been there to reinforce, like, listen, got to do blah 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 because he said so, and here's another reason why. Like I'll communicate it and from my own style and be a little more thorough, a little more poetic about it, I guess, whatever it is.
Yeah,
Because
Danny, he doesn't undermine, he reinforces, he
correct,
backs up.
you gotta.
Shut the fuck up.
Well,
Fucking motherfucker.
he's an underminer.
Well, so-
Yeah, 100% he's an underminer. Every time I yell at my kids, he's like, well, hold on, man, take it easy. And then I'll be like, well, you know why daddy's
Well,
Oh, he's playing
that's what he
soft.
does.
You're trying to
Yeah,
like
he's Mr. Softy all the time. Don't even fucking try and defend yourself. You are Mr.
No, I'm licking
I
his
can't
spit.
be mean to them because here's the difference though.
Wait,
And
well, I'm
I don't
just
try.
trying
I'm
to
not
get
trying to
at
be mean.
when
No,
you
no,
brought
no,
this
no,
up.
no, no, no,
Yeah,
no, no,
because
no, no, no.
You grew up with your brother in the same household. So when you see your brother discipline or scold his
That
children,
has nothing to do
are
with it.
you thinking, oh, I would do it the same way, or dad raises this way, or we
No.
learn on this way?
no.
So
No,
you,
Darren just respects
wait,
the
wait,
fact.
hold on a
No,
second.
Darren just
If you
respects the
dis-
fact that he knows that his
Frank, shut the fuck up for
he
1
knows how
second.
to
Let me
talk to
answer
his
the
own
question, 'cause now
kids.
I'm just gonna talk over you, so you can't say shit. This is how it works, bro. This is not what it's supposed to be. Now I lost my fucking question. Here it is.
Now the baby's upset.
Now the big look at the camera. You would do things differently when it comes to your brother and you raising
What, if
children.
I had
influencing.
kids?
Yeah, like the situation that
How would
his
I
kids get in,
influence versus how he influences?
the trouble that his kids get in when he goes to discipline them. Are you and you witness this? Are you sitting there like, okay, yeah, I see where it's coming from. I do the same thing, or are you sitting there like, you know what? If it were me, you should probably do it this way because they'd fucking understand more if you go this way and this route and this route instead of
That's
just
not a
yelling.
valid
Both.
question.
What whatever I've witnessed that I need to, reinforce via their, you know what I mean, their discipline style. I usually, whatever I have seen and been a part of, I usually would say, okay, they deserve that. I would do the same kind of thing. But in thinking about it in more depth, would I apply my own spin and style to either reprimanding a kid or influencing somebody in a way that they need to understand something? I think I prefer my communication style.
Okay, so now this
That's
is where
just another
Frank can come
layer
in
of
and
it,
explain
you know
what
what I
you're
mean?
saying.
I have my own
No, but
communication
your
style.
question to him like that is not valid because you can't say like how he reprimands his kids. How would you do this? Because we could all say, and I would say like just how I used to be before I had kids. I'd be like, when I'm a parent, I'm going to be like this. Is that you could think
Right,
you're gonna
right.
one
And
way.
I'm not a
But
parent.
wait, I know, but that's what I'm saying. But because when you are and when you're not, it's two different things. Because when you're with them constantly 24/7, and the stresses of like telling them the same things over and over again, or having to repeat things or whatever, when you put that on top of how you would normally be, there are many times in situations that any parent will tell you that there is always an overreactive moment or a snap or a whatever, and then it'll come back of like, fuck. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
And there's other
And
times
this
where
is
like
why-
you might have handled the situation a different way because of all of these other situations as a whole of
a
being a
lot of
parent.
factors
So
and variables in there.
yeah, dude, it's like the
But
Tom
this is what
Segura
I'm
skit when
saying, like, I'm not undermining you. When I see you discipline them or something, I'll be like, Frank, maybe blah 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 next time or whatever.
that's an undermine
How is that an undermine?
because you're questioning what the decision was. That's what an undermine is. Backing someone up is in the moment right there when someone is saying something to a kid. As soon as you say in front of that child, hold on, wait, back up, or something like that, and you start having the conversation with that person in front of the child, that's what an undermine is.
Google it.
Being solid on solidarity is in the moment of being on the same page. But as soon as you contradict, question, or any part of what that person is saying, that's an undermine.
Go against. It just means go against.
Exactly. And that's what going against is. As soon as you say, hold up, take a different way, that's going against. That's not solidarity, man. So again, Darren would respect his brother in the moment to say he's with his kids every day. He knows how to handle his kids. He knows what he tells them on a regular basis. Instead of questioning how he does that, I'm just going to back up what he says.
Can I interject for a
Because
second?
Darren doesn't think that he knows better.
I never said that I did.
I have to
I'm
interject.
trying to be a good uncle here, and I'm trying to influence their father.
Here comes
I'm
Roche.
not trying to be a good father.
Can I just say something? And
You
this
are
has
a
nothing
good
to do
father.
with both y'all,
I'm just picking at you now.
obviously. But here's what undermine
Fuck
would
you,
be.
Dale.
Dale Cutler. Okay, it's 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Undermining would be hypothetically You tell your kids to do one thing, right? Danny's there. Danny says, all right, whatever daddy says, let's just do this differently. You can do what you want. Don't like that's going against your action. Him suggesting something to you isn't actually undermining. If you feel that it is, that's your feeling. That's okay, whatever. But like, it's not the action would need to be there for like him actually going against your teaching or your discipline in order to call it undermining. Going against the actual action. It's not just him suggesting to you, I see what you're doing. That could be overstepping. That could be things like that. It's just not undermining. That's English 101. Go.
I had to Google it because I thought that what he was saying was what I thought it was, and the way you were using it, I was like, wait a second, I don't undermine.
Not mean,
but I get where you're coming from.
No, because well, I'm saying we weren't
I didn't
using
do
it
good
in
on my
that sense.
SAT
Like we
at
were
all, by the
using
way.
it in
I'm
the
not
sense of because like when you talk to your kids or if you're yelling at your kids, but yeah, that's absolutely. Yeah, that would be an undermine to me because if someone's saying something and you're like, wait, different approach or different whatever, different is exactly what you just. What was the word you used before? To go against.
undermine.
If you're like, oh wait, different way, that's going against whatever was just out there.
Okay.
Because even not using you, like if it was Karen or like if me and Karen were both in the room with the kids or something and I said something to them and she was like, wait, babe, don't, not that, like, do it this way or whatever. To me, that's an undermine because again, it's
Oh, you know
against.
what? I just figured it out. He's a Pisces. That's why he's so sensitive. That's why.
Oh, fuck. I forgot. Aries
No,
don't
I
give a
get you. I
shit.
get you. So let me ask you this then: when let's say you're out with the kids, and I'm gonna move away from this for a second, but you're out with the kids and you see another mother or father hitting their kids in public. Do you ever be like, this is why you're supposed to act right because this is what's going to happen to you?
No.
Like, does that influence them to be a better kid so they're not getting spanked?
I mean, honestly, I don't think hitting your kids in public is really a good thing.
I think
Personally, if I saw someone hitting a kid, even if my kid's with me, I'm not saying I'd go like fucking break it up or whatever, but I might be like, hey, what's going on? Like something just to kind of get it to stop for a second because that poor fucking kid's probably getting beat regularly.
See, I don't know. In my opinion, I don't get involved with that.
I know, I hear you, but like
different. If they're getting a fucking beating in public, then I'm like, all right, you're abusing your kid.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You said if they're hitting them.
No, I'm just saying, like, if you're in Target and the kid's acting up, running around, knocking shit off the shelf.
Oh yeah, and you see the parent like grab them and like, yeah. Okay, no, that
like,
I wouldn't.
Do you think your kids are influenced by seeing that to be good?
Oh no, I think my kids are good because of the spankings that they've gotten at home, and they remember those enough to be like, I'm not doing that because I know what comes.
Aren't they going to think about I'm seeing that happen from that parent for those kids, but I would think your kids are probably thinking, well, I'm glad my dad doesn't do that to me because I know how he tries to discipline me at home isn't that. Well, exactly. Or it has happened. He's talked to me about it, assuming you have. I'm
very big on, and this is just me in general as a parent.
That's accurate.
I'm very big on coming back and talking to them about things later. So
that I gotta say he does.
In the moment, something happens, I get really mad. Or like, I told them 7 times nicely or whatever. And now I'm like, okay, enough, whatever. And I start yelling. I'll say my piece and yell. I'll walk away. I'll go in the next room. I'll come back in. And then I will say, do you guys understand why I yelled? And no, yes, whatever, this, not. And they might tell me something. They might not, whatever. But I'll always make sure that they know the right reason. Like if they say something that was wrong and they try to guess, no, I told you this 5 times this way nicely. I don't want to yell at you, but if you're not listening to me the first couple of times, then I am going to yell because now look, you did it. You did listen to me. But if you would have listened to me the first time, I wouldn't yell at you. And then there's times when like they do things or like they'll like do something and be like, Daddy, look, I did this. And I'll be like, great job, baby. Like, oh, you want a snack? You want this or something or whatever. Like,
proud of it. You want to show you that
exactly. Like I just recently started doing this point system with Mia. We're gonna do like, so she like makes her bed, she knows to put her like dish in the sink when she's done eating, she knows like to throw things in the garbage, whatever things. So I told her, I said, when you leave toys on the floor, when you do this, it's gonna be minus a certain amount of points. When you do the things you're supposed to do and make your bed in the morning, you brush your teeth, do this and that, you get points. I said at the end of the week, however many points you got, we'll add it up into dollars and that'll be your allowance. So that way now she learns the value of like $1. by like doing chores and doing things the right way in the house and keeping her room clean and keeping her stuff responsible, she can make money. But if she doesn't do it, then she's not going to make any money, or she'll make less money. You know what I mean? So
I'll tell you a quick story.
I feel like I live there.
So when I was dating Valerie, I incorporated that with her 4 children. She had a 7-year-old, an 8-year-old, and 2 14-year-olds. And I told her, so I'll take it out of my money
So many kids.
if these kids can get on a track or start doing chores or routine, because her son really didn't do nothing. He was downstairs playing video games. Daughter was on the phone a lot. The 2 little ones were just always all over the place. So we tried to like incorporate structure. Again, I wasn't their stepfather nor their father, but I was trying to be a good influence on these kids. So I wrote out a fucking chart and I told them like, each point is whatever. And we used like beans and stuff in a mason jar. It worked for a little less than a month because the 2 little ones just wouldn't do their chores, and then they would get upset that they didn't have enough beans in the mason jar. And then the son was like, well, I really don't need money. And I'm like, dude, just do it to get into the habit of shit. The older daughter, the 15-year-old, she was making bank because she was doing all the other kids' chores. So then the 2 little ones were like, it's not fair. She got money. I'm like, well, she did her fucking chores. So the little one was 7, and the second one was 8. And she started to get into things, started doing things even after we stopped doing the chores thing. So in hindsight, I do see that I've influenced them in some type of way. I was with her for almost 2 years, bro. I've had to influence them in hopefully a positive way, but I'm glad because I don't talk to her now, but I'm sure that the kids are doing well based on like stuff that she's taught him or I've hopefully influenced them.
Danny thinks that he influenced these kids' whole lives in 2 years. No, I'm just kidding.
No,
No, just the way you said that. No, but I get you because it's important to do things like that. And like there are a lot of kids that don't meet people that have things like that. Like that is I made that joke, but that is a big thing. Like I said, when I was between 13 and 18, bro, I lived with Curtis for a certain amount of months or maybe a year. I lived in certain other people's basements, houses, and this and that for certain periods of time. And they were all great people that had positive influences on me that helped me get to a better spot. It could have been the other way around, like these kids are lucky that she was dating someone good like you that had a good influence on them to do something like that, rather than some dirtbag that just wanted to like be with their mom or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
So again, man, influence, it's crazy. It's and even again, getting back to like the whole media sense and like social media and influencing and everything, like some of these other people that look like good influencers to me are fucking very negative, like the Jake Paul and the Logan Paul like brothers. They like look like these great kids that came from the Disney Channel and this and that, but then you look at all the things that they're pushing out and stuff like that Prime drink that they push, that there's like their drink or whatever, is so bad for you. There's so much sugar and stuff in it, like it's not a good thing. And they're pushing it out like this healthy thing and whatever, and just certain people like that I hate to see getting all this spotlight on all these fucking media pages and stuff like that all these kids look at. And like JoJo Siwa, so many girls looked up to JoJo Siwa, and then all of a sudden she hit her 18th birthday and now she totally changed her whole image and everything. And a lot of kids now are like, I want to change my image. You know what I mean? Like it's an influence, dude.
Yeah, I idolize them, like growing up, who do we have? Super Mario Brothers, right? Ninja Turtles. That's who I wanted to be. That's what I was trying to get.
That was actually my next question. I was going to pose a question to switch gears a little bit.
See, growing up,
who has influenced us a lot? That's pop culturally. I was going to say.
Danny totally missed it. He's made up some like nice ones, but it was more like Eminem, Linkin Park, Limp Bizkit, Kid Rock.
Music over TV?
What are you talking about?
Music over TV.
I would say those were, hell yeah. Music is a huge influence. We've talked about the sounds of music and how it influences the human body and stuff before. And aside from that, like the people that were in those decades of music were huge influencers, dude. Look at fucking the Woodstock 99 concert documentary and all those kids listening to all that type of music and all the Limp Bizkit and Linkin Park and Kid Rock and fucking
and what happened. Yeah, I know.
And then all the stuff that happened at the fucking concert. How 100%, dude.
Get it.
It's all relative. It all is connected.
I think music is the biggest influence for us growing up, especially the time we did.
I agree.
But also it has a lot to do with the surroundings. Like we were outdoors more, like we didn't have any fucking technology of like phones and shit. Nokia, the Nextel was the first bit of it, but even then, we were just out on your
It's the
bikes or
sidekicks.
roller skates and shit.
No, because
It's the circle you hung out with in the playground or at the schoolyard. You know, that was the influence.
and the
Yeah, like our
technology. You're
well,
watching
our
TV, you
technology-
have to go inside and do it.
Our technology was just like new technology to talk about meeting up. Like it was like sidekicks or Blackberries or BBMs or like things like that, or AOL AIM and stuff like that, where it was like, hey, what are you doing on this day? Or how are we going to meet up for this? And that was what it was. It was just to get you connected to people. Whereas now, with all these things, you don't have to go anywhere. You can fucking FaceTime anybody. You could be on live on an app. You could be whatever and talking to fucking everybody from never leaving your couch. But for
Well,
us
that's what
back in the day,
keeping
it was
people
just to
lazy,
meet up.
right?
Mhm.
Well, out of necessity, I'm glad we didn't have overkill amounts of access, because with that, people thinking, why should I leave if I could just FaceTime you? You know what I mean? It reduces actual socialization. It's pretty ironic, I think.
It's-
Social
yeah.
media makes us less social. That's my take personally,
100%.
Staying connected actually disconnects us.
because it's overload, like anything. That's got to be something. There's got to be science to back that overload and overkill and overstimulation, or too much of anything is not good. Okay,
Yeah.
one of the basic
That's it.
commonalities of life. Okay, too much of anything is not good, and you'll take it for granted. We didn't have to do that. We had to go knock on people's doors, call them on house phones. Hi, is somebody there? We had to have more balls, I think.
Mhm.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
absolutely.
Because we didn't know differently, and maybe if you didn't have balls anyway, that's what different concept. But to do real things in person and talk to people and have to call them to talk to them and talk to them to their face. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Things
So
were in your
metaphorical
face in a
balls.
good-
So I get
real
you.
experiences were in your face more.
not real. But also that influenced us to be raised with class and have manners.
Mhm.
You know, we were able to
Ah.
communicate with adults and elders.
I think you
because-
just cracked it.
We just did more.
Well, because when people are like nowadays, like, oh, so many of these kids don't have respect, or like it's not, that's a big reason why. Like, think about it when they say like a lot of like the shit talkers online or like on games or on
Yeah.
the internet or like this and that. It's like, oh yeah, easy to talk shit behind a screen or behind a microphone or like this and that. That's why a lot of these kids don't have respect, because growing up in that type of era,
They never got smacked in the face.
you never were in person with people to talk to someone like that to exactly catch the wrong one, you know?
Dude, They lack these skills, man. It's
Yeah.
serious.
Well, and then-
Socialization.
Wait, and then to piggyback on that, that's why we have these people now that you see on some of these videos that are like having these childish fucking temper tantrum freakouts when somebody fucking steps to them real, approaches them, or like whatever. Dude, I saw this one where this like Karen lady was like, went up to this woman in the store and she like put her hands on her, or whatever she did was like totally rude. And as soon as she did it, the woman fucking smacked her and was like, don't fucking touch me. And she was like, like she couldn't believe that she got smacked. Like what she was doing was okay. And like, no, you crossed the fucking line. Like some people need to realize like that, like knowing your fucking role or knowing your fucking lane.
Good luck.
It's true. 100%.
Because a lot of these fucking quote unquote Karens or Susans or whatever you want to call them out there, I hate to use the word
All them
Karen,
people. Yeah.
but no, but there's a lot of them like that out there now that fucking, yo, you gotta fucking know your own, you be put in your fucking place.
I agree with that. 100%.
Kinda
But now
porky-pig
that's
that a
the
little
thing.
bit.
It's like, who do these kids have to, not even these kids, but who do people like us, who did we have to look up to at the time that made us who we are, that has all this?
Well,
that
think
have
about it.
since-
When you were a teenager in high school,
What I'm trying to say,
oh,
our level of dignity has come from us looking up to heroes and icons and stuff.
Yeah.
And you're not supposed to idolize people, but like high school teachers, like, did you ever think that when you were in high school, you would be in the position to be the one people would look up to? Like,
No.
is that something you thought?
Maybe, but not because of my teachers. No. I to be honest, I took more away from TV shows and like characters in TV shows that are doing certain things. I've liked other characters as, role models. Doesn't mean I want to be just
Now-
like them, but like if they were
Right.
cool, I want it to be cool. Zach Morris was cool. I like
That's
that.
what I was going to ask you,
Okay,
actually.
he was people. The current lens, they're going to be like, Zach Morris sucks, or he looking back because he was selfish and whatever. But I grew up with him and during that current lens, and it worked for me.
Look at the TV shows that we were raised on,
That's one of them.
like you just said, that was something that you watched before
religiously
school.
and after school.
And then after school, right? But you're going to school and you're like, all right, I want to be more like Zach Barnes.
Or
wanna
when I
be
get to
this-
high school, I want my school to be like this,
Yes.
unrealistic type thing where only 6 kids matter.
And-
Like that'd be awesome.
But now look at the
fantasy, you know?
Yeah, dude. But and that was reality for you.
Of
because you
course.
wanted to make that. That
Right.
was what influenced you. Look at what these kids have today on the television. I can't name any TV show like we had back then.
Plus,
You
there's
know?
just a bajillion on every stream.
Bel-Air.
anyway,
It's just-
so.
Yeah.
No, all right. So wait, to kind of like, I think wrap this up a little bit. I got like a two-parter thing in a sense of like, who do you think that these kids have as main influencers nowadays? Like, who are the biggest influencers of kids nowadays? And the
Are you
second
gonna
part
ask
of
both questions, or are you gonna ask one and then the
no,
other?
I'm gonna ask both. But just first, I want to like I'm gonna ask them both, but we'll answer them. Watch. So, who do you think, as a whole, like we can answer as a group, that influence these kids now? And then separately, who was your biggest few influences back in high school? Like whether it was music, TV, personal, whatever. Who were like your like top 3 or 5 biggest influences? So, who do you think influences kids now the biggest?
No one.
No one.
Boys, MMA fighters.
MMA, all right,
Or a
that's
big
not
one.
bad. I could see MMA fighters as a big one.
Not all
What's the
bad
freaking,
either.
Not Blueface. What the fuck is that rapper? The Baby. I can see the Baby as a big influencer.
A lot of the people, all right, so I'm gonna get into it for a second, but a lot of the influencers for this generation who have mush for brain because they're so overstimulated from the phone, they could put anybody on TV and put any songs on the radio, and these kids are just gonna adapt to it and fucking soak to it as if it's like moth to a flame.
Just because it's new.
That's it.
But
Or
I'm not
viral.
saying just music. I'm saying because
Well,
obviously
I'm
we have
talking
social
about
media.
actors.
Personalities.
Yeah, exactly. That's
That's
what I'm
it.
saying. It could be any
Talking about
actors, actresses nowadays.
I know
too.
that you're probably talking. It feels like you're trying to get somebody to say Jake Paul as an influencer.
No, well, I already mentioned him,
Is that
so
what
I'm
you're
not
talking
saying
about?
him.
That's what I thought he was getting at, but
Well,
You know, I
somebody
already
that will
mentioned him. I already
influence-
mentioned JoJo Siwa, so I'm not really talking about them. But like people even like that. Like even like what about 6ix9ine? I'm not
See,
saying
but
he's a good
Jake
influencer,
Paul-
but he is an influencer. Huh?
He has definitely influenced kids and adults to some young adults probably in their 20s and people I know too, but I don't know why. But it's
But
not actors.
the reason I wanna-
maybe some musicians.
Well, the reason I
maybe.
want to
I
name
doubt
these
it.
people is because, and again, not Jake Paul, but like 6ix9ine or the Baby or this and that, blah, 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 because we're gonna start mentioning people like for that influence in us in high school, right? We're gonna start mentioning some artists, some actors, actresses, maybe some other people, whatever. But I'm trying to compare. I'm trying to get a comparison. So like, yeah, so we do
There's
have
no
the Paul
comparison.
brothers.
yeah, you know what?
There's so much meaningless content in a sea of endless meaningless content that all these celebrities, a lot of them don't bring anything new to the table. Every single
Nothing.
song that's in pop now, it's I mean, that's a whole other conversation, but all I hear is covers of all old songs in like somber ways, and then
Yeah,
like
like the
hip hop
Lizzo
songs that
song.
are like sampling like a Queen beat and like, you know, and just putting
Dumb lyrics.
But you know
Yeah,
what?
there's
A
no way
lot
that
of our
compares
music
about-
did that too.
Call
Like a
me
lot of our
bold, I
music
don't
did that
care.
too. What about Eminem Sing for the Moment or music that he did like that?
Yeah,
Or like
I don't need that
Name
either.
one song though, like
no, but there was a bunch of them. Like even
That's just that's
Uh,
artists we still like. I feel I'm talking about artists I don't even know doing this all the time now. You know what I
but
mean?
that's because that's been done so many times. If you
Yeah,
actually
well,
look
that's
throughout
current-
history
current
of music,
That's
yeah,
what
that's
it
just
is.
part of music. Exactly. So that's just the new generation. Like you sound like the old man that's just like this new
I do.
shit sucks
100%.
because that
Because
is
the shit
exactly what
sucks.
every generation. No, but that's exactly what every generation did. Because think
course,
about
in
it.
some
Like
way,
your
yeah.
parents used to say that when they were listening to 80s rock music, and they were like, "This noise is terrible." Blah blah blah. But
yeah.
80s is like one of the best fucking decades of music
Here's
nowadays.
the difference though, Frank. The difference is, yes, that's true. Every generation is going to say what they hate about or what they don't like that has changed that they've grown accustomed to. But 20th century, the 1900s, okay, 1950s, I will argue this to the damn dead. I listened to music that my parents listened to, and they heard music that I listened to, and that was still closer, even though we were 30 years apart, right? Like because the radio was still a major way that kids and adults got their music, because
Mhm.
the technology allowed the generations to shorten the gap still in that regard. Yes, my parents' music was theirs, and a lot of kids our age still don't even care about older music, but a lot of them do. And I feel going forward, there's going to be a bigger disparity between what kids like and what adults like. And the only thing that's going to keep them together, commonality, is devices. I don't think any of the content's going to matter anymore. You know what you're watching for your kids. You know JoJo Siwa because of your kids, but your kids and you are never going to like the same music. And if they do, I commend them. But like, you know what I mean? You show them.
Actually, my kids love a lot of the same music that I listen to, and I'm blessed for that because I listen to a lot of music. But yes, I do get what you're saying, but I also disagree with you.
That's the best case scenario.
I also disagree with you, and the reason I disagree with you is because how many young people do you have that listen to new age music that are giving it to you as a sense of like, yo, you should check this out, you should check this out. That is something that's good. Not that many. But like for me, like I have two cousins that are both in high school. And sometimes they do send me some things that are like, yo, you got to check this out. And some of the stuff they send me is pretty fucking dope. I have to say, there are artists out there. That's what I'm saying. There are artists out there that have, like me, to me, the Lizzo, the About Damn Time song. I love that fucking song. My kids fucking love that song. Is it a little too like adult for them? Yeah. But they fucking love that song. And I know it's like an older beat that has been reused in this blah, blah, blah. But that was one that was done well to me. There are definitely artists that just like through our time hit that. Is it farther and fewer between now? Absolutely. But I think that's just the whole full circle of the music industry. Like there have been certain decades of music that dipped and weren't as great and then got better and worse and so on. The 80s, 90s, and 2000s all were like a straight boom, boom, boom to me. And then, like peaked. And I think this is just that recycle that has to like, you have to have some shitty decades before it gets fucking great again. That's just my personal opinion. So
I get that. That's totally respectable. And you can dig what you want, but I don't see it getting back to what it's ever been. I think it's like Nas said in 2006, I think hip hop is dead. I think great music.
Hip hop can be dead. Something else could be born though.
100%.
Like, you know what I mean? Hip hop came, but jazz used to be the shit, or like it could be the dead of hip hop, but maybe a new genre fucking pops, you know?
True. And look, it doesn't mean I'm exposed to new songs of like genres I like chill wave, and like I like a lot of instrumentally hip hop, Japanese type music, anime songs that they have and stuff. I love that because it's kind of hip hop I like.
Yeah.
Beats driven and stuff like chill and stuff, chill wave. But that exists and that can still exist. And I'm showing artists all the time that I do still like. I'm just saying more in a pop sense and what is popular. 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and stuff like that. You and your parents will still share those and you'll dig 3 decades worth and probably together on an average. Most people like us, I'm saying, not everyone in the world.
No,
but
well,
now you're not getting that. Maybe a couple songs here and there.
To mix your point
and overall.
To mix your point in mind, kind of, it does kind of coincide because if you think about it, like 80s was like heavy rock, right, or big rock music, but the 90s was more like alternative rock.
Michael Jackson, Prince, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, there was a lot of pop stuff, but there was so many 80s rock bands, and then you go to 90s, and there was a lot of 90s alternative one-hit wonders. But then we go to the 2000s, and it was a lot of hip hop and more pop and like this and that. And now in like the 2010s, I feel like EDM, electronic, and all that stuff has been like the biggest. But
genres have faded out, dude.
When all of those kind of connected, yeah, exactly. The rest of the genres that are left are going to be kind of different now. So going through those next kind of couple decades might take a turn. But I don't know. To me, there's so many fashions that over time always come back around and whatever, that I feel like, again, 20, 30 years from now, rock music will probably start to get big again. That's just my personal.
Look, kids of this generation, ones who are really into music, I watch a lot of YouTube videos about seeing these new artists, kids who aren't even artists, but they're digging like guitars and they're digging jazz and bluesy stuff. There are people who will always be older souls or appreciate good quality of anything.
But they're the exception to
the mass outlook on it and the mass application of like pop music and where it's gone and things like that. To me, I don't think it's fewer. EDM is blended with hip hop and trap and like, you know, a lot of that, and you're not getting alternative rock and hip hop and cool hip hop and like Mariah Carey and fucking, you know, Collective Soul and Green Day and Smash Mouth and Britney Spears. You're not getting all of this anymore. And no one, I don't think anybody's gonna be so big in the sea of all this crap that like everybody can see it. You had to wait for MTV to come on. You're not getting this wow factor anymore because it's just more and more content. It's all laundered in the same money machine. You know what I mean? So to speak, all the content is all just, maybe you'll find good music if you care to look. Instead, it's just content, right. Less valuable over time. And music's going to fall into that, even if there is good. That's why it's hard to find. Exists, definitely. But I know this went towards music because I'm very passionate about that, obviously.
No.
So are you. But that's what I think. It's hard. It sucks. And I'm glad we know life. Call me old. What a boomer, buzzword bullshit, right? I don't care, because as you get older, I think You start to stand by your opinions and convictions, appreciate the art that you like, whether it's music, movies, and for what it is. And you can do that in a mature way where it's like, people can do them, like what you want, but like, I know what I like, and you could try new things. I mean, I watch more new shows now than I ever have, and I like some. Most of them suck, but some don't.
He had a good valid
That's
point
my
before
rant.
when he mentioned
No, I hear you.
like good music exists, but you got to look for it now. Whereas MTV, they would tell you the top 20 or whatever, TRL, VMA, whatever. But it's
And
like
all 20 songs were good songs.
they were all quiet.
Popular music had a lot of genres. There was a lot for everybody, especially when we were growing. You know, I know that. You know, I feel that rather.
No, I
I
agree.
feel
with
like
that,
things
though.
have
80s
kind of
too.
merged now, but also they're only playing the same, I don't know, 50 songs on the radio over and over again. You'll
Yeah,
hear the
and,
same
and
song
20 of
8
them are like
times
songs that aren't even from now.
Or 19 of them suck ass. Also, you know what I mean? Like maybe somebody's talented. I love Bruno Mars. He might be in there, but
But
this
that's what I'm
rapper,
saying.
that
Bruno
rapper, that
Mars
rapper.
isn't nowadays stuff. Bruno Mars
But
hasn't
also
come out
Bruno
with
Mars
a new
has been out
album
for
like
years now, so they're just
that's what
going
I'm
through
saying. He's more
now.
older. He's like 5-10 years ago now because even the last album he came out with was what, Versace on the Floor, which was still a few years ago. And
Yeah, it was
that
like 5
was,
years ago.
you know what I mean? So any of his hits that you hear on the radio still, like Grenade or something like that, bro, that's like fucking 8-9 years old. That's one of like
yeah,
the
yeah. It
older
doesn't
songs.
need to
That's
be
not a
new
new
anymore.
radio hit. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. So when he's like, oh, there's only like the 50 same songs, there are, and 30 of them probably still old songs. Like
So
There's nothing new to influence these kids, and at the same time, these kids should be influencing each other. That's what it's I don't want to say about, but like that's how we grew up, that's why we're tight for 15, 18 years now.
they have to say goodbye to a certain influence that's toxic, and so they can keep their minds on actual interpersonal relationships. A lot of them do that, but then a lot of them also just sitting in a room. It's a
On their
fucked
phone,
up generation. It's Apple
Okay.
ruined the world, guy. I'm telling.
Rude.
I mean,
so
we all love these things. I love this thing. I'm not even gonna be a hypocrite, but I missed that Nokia. I miss
real
caring.
quick,
I miss
and
being at a
Darren-
concert, not recording it.
real quick, and Darren, just because before we go, I do want to hear this. And I know you're gonna give me like fucking 20, so try to just give me a few. But who was like some of your biggest influences in high school?
What, music?
Anything, music, TV, actors, actresses, anybody you looked up to in high school, somebody you wanted to be like, somebody that positively influenced you personally. It could be a teacher, it could be anybody.
So like
Just give me like a
persona,
couple.
a personality or a persona. Okay.
Yeah, something.
In high school specifically?
Yeah.
You want to think about that for a second?
Yeah, I'll sit on it.
I'm going to answer this one question that you asked him. There was this kid, Dane, that was a senior when I was a freshman. People said that we looked alike because I had my hair spiky and we had the same features and everything. This kid was muscular. He was like 5'10", maybe 5'11", I don't know. And everyone was like, oh, you guys look like brothers. And I felt cool being associated with this guy. I just got into the Newdorp High School. So I'm like, fucking white boy, freshman. Fuck it. How old are you in freshman? 14 years old. And they're saying I look like this really cool 18-year-old who's got, it was like his senior year. He was a cool dude or whatever. But so that kid influenced me. I started to not necessarily wear like Sean John and shit, but I kind of started to dress like him. I spiked my hair. I was wearing a chain a little bit, Thanks, D. That's
It's like it's not gonna smell like anything, actually.
Was that
So
ketchup and onion?
Onions on cat on my tongue. That tuxedos are kind of fucked up.
now that you bring it up, now that you bring it up. So that kid kind of like influenced me, and that is like a personal influence that nobody really knows. I don't know where he is, what he's doing right now. I might remember his name. I don't know. Dane.
Mine's a personal one.
I got one too. Actually, it's personal as well. Now that I think about it,
kind of pushed me. He got me into my first CD ever was Louis DeVito Dance Factory, and since that CD, it's a change of life for me, dude. I'm telling you. If you would have handed me Wu-Tang 36 Chamber, no, I'm just kidding. But I'm saying, like, that's where it went for me. That was my high school turn, and that's the person I became. So that kid kind of influenced me a lot.
my brother, 100%.
Solid answer.
Okay.
Just was stylistically guiding me in
Older
the
brother?
right way, pissing me off. You know what I mean?
He's an older brother?
Yeah, he's my older brother. And he influenced me a lot, especially in high school, socially and stuff. I mean, look, I did my own thing and I went in my own circles and everything was great. But you know, and I learned some things on my own that I didn't refer to him to, but he helped me out in a lot of ways, and he was there, and stylistically, like the way, you know, I would dress, the way I would kind of carry myself. I mean, my tips might have worked sometimes better with some girls, I would like to think, hopefully. But yeah, look, I mean, I'm so fortunate to have had such a great influence in him. So huge influence, yeah, because like, look, I was into Usher, you know what I mean? Like music like that, but like ushered in, like Usher influenced my life in other ways. That is, I guess you could say that, but on a personal level, brother, definitely.
All right.
Over teachers, no one really spoke to me like that. A couple did who I liked, but it's not because like they were mostly all changing like my perspective. Like this is like freedom writers. No, I didn't have any of that.
Right.
Couple, a few science, you know, I like personality wise, but that's it.
What about you, Frank? Who's your favorite scientist?
No, honestly, and I don't mean to get like too deep, but this is just me, so sorry. So like for me, it was high school. I dropped out in the middle of my junior year. So I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I was getting into trouble. And then I landed back into Staten Island and I started working for Carrabba's. And me and my dad got into a huge fight and I got kicked out of the house. And Jeff was probably one of my biggest influences for a long time. And
Wow,
even when I
I
moved
respect
back to
that.
Vegas and I got in trouble, he flew me back out to Long Island, gave me a job, got me an apartment, got me like
On your
just
feet.
back on track. And then I met Karen, and then like the next part of my life started. And
Interesting.
So you think
yeah,
Jeff that hinge from going?
well, he was just a positive influence for me in a lot of ways. Like, dude, he was a very, so like I didn't believe in a lot of like spiritual shit, and he was a very spiritual person that like opened my eyes to things. And like then I met Karen, who was a very spiritual person, and she opened my eyes even more. But like that was the beginning of that. And like the sense of like just being a positive influence of like as a chef, like I wanted to be a chef, and he was a great chef. There's still recipes that I got from him that I use to this day. Like I make chicken mostarda for dinner all the time. His corn chowder soup that I make is his recipe. Like there's so many things that I cook all the time that's still his recipes that I just, because it was instilled in me, and it was, you know, a positive influence that I had for literally 6 or 7 years. Nah, maybe like 5 or 6 years. That like, you know, from time that I met him at Carrabba's to when I moved out of his apartment.
That's
So
interesting.
yeah, he was probably one of the big influences on me.
Well, I hope we influence someone someday. That'd be pretty cool. If someone,
Honestly, it's one of my biggest goals between TikTok and everything. Like, I'll tell you what, there's this kid Grim and this kid Ethan Ryan or something like that. They are both like young teenagers, other countries of the world. Follow my content, message me all the time. Like, yo, I love how real you are. I love this and that about your content. Like, come in my lives and always talk to me and stuff. I fucking love the fact that I am totally an influencer for just even those two kids on TikTok. Fucking makes me feel great.
that's what's up, Joe. All right, cool. You got anything else you want to say?
Zip.
I'm good.
Gucci. All right.
Take us
Thank you
home.
all for the likes, listens, shares, and follows. We appreciate your support. And I guess in closing, be a good influence. That's it.